I'm Mark Dresner, and this is MDRP TV, an executive interview series featuring specialists and experts in government pricing and reimbursement programs. Joining us today is Chris Coburn. He's the Senior Vice President of Commercial Compliance, and Erika Scholl. She's the Senior Manager of GP Consulting at CIS. Chris, Erika, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark.
Great to have you here. Let's start out with you, Chris. Obviously, the impending AMP rule is the 300-pound gorilla that's keeping everybody up at night at this point. What should the GP professional be thinking about as January approaches to prepare?
Well, that's a good question, Mark, and I guess high level I'd say it's time to re-engage. I think it's been like 3 years we've been waiting for this rule. So Obamacare, healthcare reform, but as we affectionately like to call it, the PPACA, Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, the legislation, put out a lot of changes in the programs, Medicaid, average manufacturer price, more than any. But we've been waiting for the rules to tell us what to do. And when this final rule comes, we may be jumping off a curb or we may be jumping off a cliff. We don't know. We don't know which of the changes will be in there. We've read the proposed rule. Guess what? If all those changes are in there and we're only given 6 months to do it, well, we're going to be very busy. What if only 2 of those things are in there? We don't really know. So you got to kind of anticipate maybe the worst case scenario a little bit, because there's some significant proposed things in there. And if you're jumping off a cliff, so to speak, you're not going to have time to look back. So what are you doing now to make sure that you feel comfortable on your historical program integrity?
For example, bona fide service fees, yeah, it's talked about in the rule, but we also know this is something that is here, it's here to stay. They may be redefining it or clarifying it in the rule, but it's something that clients we find can do now. And that's something that we've been working with a lot of clients on, is being able to do those, make sure those bona fide service fee assessments have been done, that fair market value has been assessed. And that's something that can be done on the front end and can really be clean and shored up, as Chris said, when we move into that final rule and move into the new phase. I think we also see a lot of clients doing the recalculations now, really making sure that at that point when the rule comes in, as we said, that doesn't mean your prior period doesn't matter. There's still a responsibility to that prior period. So we're actually engaging in a lot of that recalculation now to make sure that as the rules have stood to date, that the calculations have been done correctly, and if not, that those have been recalculated, and that really you have that story to tell, that at the end of the day you can really go across the time periods and see the clean history that you can essentially offer before moving into that next phase.
Right. You got to take a look at a lot of things. The expansion of Medicaid, extension of Medicaid to Puerto Rico and the territories, the continued growth of Medicaid managed care, the change in our AMP calculation. All those things are going to come together with a very specific impact on each manufacturer based upon their products, their customers. So how do you go to senior management and tell that in an educative way and say, what does healthcare reform mean to us, to our business? And not just think about, how am I going to do my calcs?
Thank you both for giving us some real good food for thought as people prepare for what is certainly going to be a very big deal coming down the pike. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of MDRP TV. I'm Mark Dresner. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.